captain's voice echoed over the valley. Basta ya! Enough! Enough of the bloodshed for the day! It was 1939, towards the end of the Spanish Civil War, and my father found himself fighting against Franco's troops up in northern Spain, and they were heavily outnumbered, many casualties. And my father was fearing the worst, because during the Civil War they took no prisoners. And then something strange happened to my father. He heard a voice, and he called this voice his guardian angel. And the voice said to him, "Never give up. You will see your family again. I will look after you." The captain's voice echoed out again. "We have no food, we take no prisoners. You have two choices. You stay, fight, and we will shoot you all. Or you can go. Now, across the mountains, out." My father couldn't believe what he was hearing. This just did not happen. No one took prisoners. No one gave anyone a chance. He and his friends, they moved as fast as they could. They were up that mountain faster than a jackrabbit. Over into France. It was a bit like out of the frying pan and into the fire, though, because this was the beginning of the Second World War, and they arrived in France just as the Germans were starting the war. And the French, as soon as they saw these guys come across the mountains, they put them in prison straight away. And these French were nice. They gave my father and his colleagues, they gave them two choices. The choices was, we have no food for you. You can stay and rot in prison and die, or you can join the French Foreign Legion. For those of you who don't know, the French Foreign Legion is one of the roughest and toughest armies in all the world. Some choice. Then my father heard the voice of his guardian angel saying to him, "Never give up. Never give up. You will see your family again. I will protect you." Before he knew it, they were shipped off to Algeria, to the heat of the desert, fighting against the Germans and the Panzers. From there, they were flown all the way up into Norway, the furthest parts of Norway, cold ice, again against the Germans. And then finally, they had a bit of pity on them. They sent them back to France, to Brest, in northwest France. Now, Brest is a seaport, and they arrived there just at the time when the Germans were finally coming into France and pushing the Allies out into the ocean. And my father turned up in that place at that time. But he didn't give up. Just so happened, they managed to get onto one of the last boats that was leaving Brest for England. The boat had no arms on it. They were completely defenseless. But they set sail, and they got to the harbour walls just as the Germans started to come into the harbour with their tanks and their armoury. This time my father said, "This is it. We've got nothing to defend ourselves against." They had all these weapons trained at us. But again, the voice of the angel came to him again and said the same words. "Never give up. You will see your family again. I will look after you." And then a miracle happened. The captain in charge of this armoury, he stood up on the turret of his tank, and instead of giving the order to fire, he put his arm up and just started to wave bye-bye. And then, miraculously, the rest of the troops around him, they all stood up as well, and they all started waving bye-bye. And my father was thinking, what is happening? Why? They had us in the sights. They should have killed us, but they didn't. Then later, a little bit further out to sea, a German plane spotted them. And again, they were sitting ducks. But again, something miraculous happened. The plane came down, and instead of opening fire on them, the wings started to tilt from side to side. And my father saw in the wings the angel speaking to him. Never give up. You will see your family. I will look after you. And he did. My father reached England, was interred by the British before finally being released. Now, my father did get back to Spain. 20 years later, he was allowed back to Spain. He didn't give up. He saw his family again. And then, in the arms of his mother, he heard the angel speak to him. And the angel said, "You didn't give up. I looked after you."